For a lot of people, being asked out for a drink or going for something to eat is a normal part of their life. It's a nice thing to do. They can say yes to the invitation without much thought of where they are going, whether the place will be busy, or if they will have to meet new people. For me, getting asked to go somewhere can be really stressful, which can in turn lead into a major panic attack. It actually started when I was a teenager, but at the time was mistaken for teenage worries, which it wasn't. My moods were up and down, which led to a constant battle between being depressed and anxious. It was a roller coaster of emotion, from feeling everything to feeling nothing, almost lifeless. I seemed to just exist for most of my teenage years. I didn't have much of a life. My first ever panic attack happened in Tesco's, looking at socks. It makes me laugh now, but at the time it was terrifying. I just had to sit there and wait for it to be over. Most people wouldn't even know that I was having an attack, as I tended to freeze, which is funny in a way, as everything inside me feels like chaos. It's kind of like having a bucket of freezing cold water thrown over you. Your heart starts to beat faster. You become dizzy, can't breathe. It's honestly horrible. For me, the worst is when the panic attacks come on for no reason and you don't even realise what's happening is anxiety. I get anxious on public transport or in crowds of people. Weekends are especially hard when there seem to be more people out and about. The sound of people chatting and laughing becomes louder in my head, and it's hard to cope with. I can hardly ask people to stop talking. Every day I have to prepare myself for leaving the house. It's exhausting. Some days I can't go out, some days I physically can't do it. My body shuts down. Being anxious is a strange thing. You can't just avoid things which trigger anxiety, because it can be anything or nothing. I feel like I live my life balancing on a seesaw.
You might have this idea that people with depression walk around moping, looking lost, and not talking to people. The reality is, someone suffering with depression might feel like this inside, but they often don't act like it, especially not in public. In fact, for me, it's almost the opposite. I go out of my way to make people think I'm okay, laughing and joking with friends, acting happy. I don't want people to know or to judge me. The way I would describe depression to people close to me is like being hungover all the time. You wake up and feel terrible. It's a struggle to get up and face the day. Simple things like breakfast and personal hygiene become a battle, and it takes all the effort you are capable of to force yourself to leave the house. When you're faced with other people, you wish you could be alone. Concerned friends ask if you're okay. I'm fine, I'll say. I'm a bit tired, that's all. Maybe I'm getting sick. You can't tell them you're depressed, because you don't want them to worry, or you're afraid of how they will react. It feels like being depressed is just an excuse, or I don't want to burden others with my problem. Depression comes in waves. At some points I'm fine and think, great, I can handle life today, I'll be okay. But then maybe half an hour later I'll feel ill again. Dark thoughts, energy failing, my body slowing down, and I can't concentrate on anything. Everyone wants to be helpful, but it's hard for them to offer real advice when they don't know what is actually wrong with me, and when I don't want them to know. When people say try exercise to help with depression, it makes me want to scream. I feel constantly exhausted, and finding the energy to go for a walk is often too much. There's no way I can do exercise and still have enough willpower to do something as simple as shower, go food shopping, or pay my bills. Try eating something is another piece of advice I hear. It will make you feel better. Yes, it might, or it might just make me feel ill. People mean well, I know that, but it can create a feeling of failure or resentment in me when I'm not able to do what others suggest, or seem to do with no problem. I end up hating myself even more and feeling more useless. People tell me how to help myself, as if I have the choice to change, but they rarely ask me what I need or how they can help me. Normal life for me is like playing a character all day, pretending everything is great. Hiding a mental illness from your friends is exhausting. I'll often cancel plans or simply not turn up when I can't face people, even for things I've been looking forward to for ages. If I am out, I feel awkward, in the way, somehow removed from everything that's going on around me. I can't wait to be finished with the day, to get home to my bed and not have to act like I'm okay anymore. You create a safe space, somewhere you feel comfortable, and it gets harder and harder to leave there, be it bed, the sofa, or hiding elsewhere. Soon you stop making plans to avoid the pain of disappointing your friends. When the day is finally done, I get home and it's relief and sadness mixed together. It's numbness and adrenaline at the same time. I take off the mask and put it down next to my keys and wallet, ready to put back on in the morning before I have to face another day.
Hi, it's me. I'm not sure whether you're aware of this or not, but I've always felt our relationship is important. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be telling this to you now. I think I would be doing myself and the other people who suffer mental illness a disservice if I didn't try to explain mental illness better. It's a complicated issue, and I really feel that you need some more information to more fully understand me and my experience. I have a complicated diagnosis. Officially, it's post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, and major depressive disorder. The PTSD is due to my childhood trauma. My father was incredibly abusive in many different ways. I endured that till I was 12. My mother was in and out of the hospital with her own mental illness. She had multiple personality disorder, now known as DID, because of her own childhood abuse. Her personality was split into different aspects called alters. She would dissociate, meaning she'd lose track of who she was, her thoughts, feelings, sense of identity. Essentially, she'd black out mentally, but still be functioning physically as one of her alters. It was scary, because sometimes she would get very violent all of a sudden, or would start screaming or crying, or would wee on the floor. There was a 2-year period where she was fully hospitalised, and my dad told us that she'd left us and was never coming back. Knowing what I know now, he probably thought she'd never get out of the hospital. I'm surprised she actually did. All of that was traumatic, and it's what caused the PTSD. I still experience flashbacks at times, an experience where I'm reliving a past event like I'm really there. I also get nightmares and anxiety, but not like I used to. It tends to be when I get triggered, when something happens in the now that reminds me of past events, and then I get anxiety, flashbacks, or nightmares. It really is so much better now, but it's taken a massive amount of work. I got help from Let's Talk, and personally I found them to be incredibly helpful. They put me on a course of EMDR, which they said could help with post-traumatic stress, and that has been really empowering. The results have been life-changing. The borderline personality disorder also came from the childhood events. It's not something you were born with, but rather something that develops. It's not something that can be cured as such. There's no pill to treat it, but the therapies and medication are allowing me to cope with all of this so much better. I have intense and sudden mood swings, and I take antidepressants and diazepam to help with this. I also take an antipsychotic because borderline personality disorder has some dissociative symptoms. I used to self-harm as a way to cope with all of this, and up until 15 months ago, I used to burn myself regularly. I still get urges to burn, but when I do, I call a helpline. The people there give me coping strategies and are really supportive. The other symptoms that I struggle with are intense emotions and abandonment issues. Abandonment issues are the worst. I'm afraid that people will get sick of dealing with me and get up and leave. I'm worried that I might do something, even slight, and they're out the door. It's because, in part, my mum wasn't around when I was younger. My dad also had a string of failed relationships with countless women, and I never felt like I was his priority. My illness has scared a lot of people away. It's been hard. Normal isn't something I've ever really known or understood, but hey, what is normal? I can be very clingy and have an almost childlike attachment to people. I'd do anything for them, and I'm not sure how I'd live without them. Most people learn to have healthy attachments through relationships with their parents. And because my relationships were so traumatic, I guess I never learned. But I am learning now, and I have a better understanding of the people in my life. I do struggle when they're gone, though. It's not something I bring on myself, it's just the way it is. The depression is a chemical process in my brain. It's frustrating because my life is pretty good. I've found a family that loves and accepts me. I have a decent job, even if it is stressful at times, and I have great professional help. I'm doing a course so I can do something I love, which helps me feel like I have a purpose. Every day I make a decision to get out of bed and do my best. It's hard, but with the medications, therapies and support, I manage. But nothing takes it all away completely. I didn't choose this, but I'm doing my best to deal with it. I guess I'm sharing this with you in the hope that you can understand how much someone like me has to go through just to function, and that they are brave and strong. This broken story is my life. It's my daily experience, and your patience, understanding and support will mean the world to me. Do you know what scares me the most? It's the not knowing exactly what really happened in the lead up to where I am now. It's almost like a dream. It feels real at the time, and then suddenly you're sucked right back into reality. Only for me, reality got further and further away until I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. I floated along, viewing the world differently from everyone else, as though I was looking through murky water. I couldn't see things clearly. I'd hear people talking to me, telling me to do things, horrible things, but I couldn't see anyone. No mouths moving, no people talking. They weren't always terrible, though. And then things started to change. I began to have stalkers that followed me everywhere I went. They became obsessed and listened to my every word. I became more and more suspicious and paranoid. I was watched everywhere. Even in the privacy of my own home, I'd be having a conversation with my family, and then suddenly, the next day, people would be discussing the exact details of my conversations. How did they know that? Then I became even more paranoid, changing in the dark, showering only after I'd made sure that the bathroom was clear of any recording devices. Even then, I got in and out as fast as I could. I began to feel so terrified, I literally felt sick. And I began throwing up from worry. I was unable to keep any food down. For a while it went on like that. And then I noticed him. And he really noticed me. He began following me everywhere I went. He'd follow me home. Though I could never see him, I knew he was there. I could feel it. Everywhere I went, I'd hear his voice.
The sooner you're done with this world, the better. You're a waste, Sarah. A waste.
He'd talk to me through the radio, no matter what station I chose. He spoke to me through the TV. I tried to drown him out with the music, but he kept demanding things from me. He commented on my body when I changed or showered. I was so exhausted from being unable to sleep. I found it impossible to concentrate. I was constantly falling asleep in the day. Soon my parents began to notice I was acting strange. They told me I wasn't making a lot of sense and that I was talking to myself. I began to get so angry and act so strange that one night my family was so scared by my behaviour, they called the mental health crisis team. I was sectioned and taken to hospital for my own safety. And they put me on antipsychotics, which made me feel like a vegetable, and my words started to go a bit. For a while, things were bad. Every night I'd have horrible nightmares with creatures coming up to me, trying to hurt me. The therapist here encouraged me to engage with them. And you know, that's actually helped. I'm not scared of them anymore. I stopped hearing his voice as often, and the creatures at night became less and less scary. Though I am happy to be feeling better, the medications did have one rather unpleasant side effect. They made me gain weight. I should be going home soon, and I'm feeling more positive about that.